Hi, everybody. It is 9:22. Thanks for watching Minnesota Live. The pandemic, unfortunately, caused us to be more aware of death than probably ever before. Yet, fewer than half of American adults have a will, the legal documents that our loved ones rely on after we're gone.
So, my question this morning is, do you need a will? Who needs a will? Do you have to pay for a will? A lot of questions. So we wanted to bring in an expert on this topic. Estate planning attorney Philip Ruce from Stone Arch Law is here to kind of help us out. A lot of big questions, and I feel like when you say the word will, everyone's like, oh,
yeah,
it seems
wants
really
to talk
heavy,
about it,
you know?
It can feel that way. It can feel that way, and thanks for having me on today. It's a pleasure. It's an important document. You know, it's something that I think all people should have. I know that there's some questions and uncertainty out there.
So who needs one? I mean, like literally everyone needs one? Do you just need one when you get that first job and maybe you have the 401k, or when you actually have something with your name on it?
There's a lot of folks that don't have one. I think there's a few reasons for that. I would say that it's hard for me to say that everybody needs a will, but generally speaking, there is this set of default rules that are out there, whether you like it or not. If you don't know who's going to be in charge, if you don't know where your stuff's going to go, there should probably be some planning in place. If you're over 18 years old, arguably that's the time to get started.
Okay.
It's funny that you bring up just over 18 years old, because I was really surprised to learn that a lot of the younger generation, is it Generation Z, under 35, they are being very proactive about doing estate planning. So I was very surprised. I mean, good on them.
Absolutely. They have three things, I think, that are really going for them when it comes to this planning. They're a very pragmatic group. They are planners. They're more likely to get financial advice. They're more likely to talk to professionals. They're also very compassionate. They're also very humanitarian. And I think if you take these three things together, what is estate planning other than making sure your loved ones and your causes are cared for?
So how do you go about getting a will? I mean, I know that you can go see someone in an office, you can get an attorney. There are now even forms online. I mean, is that a legit way to get a will? Is that how do you go about it, right?
Sure. So there's four things I think I'd really focus on when we're talking about, you know, how do you get started? The first one is we need to break those stereotypes. So there's a stereotype that estate planning is for older folks, and that's not true. I mean, older folks are probably going to get their planning done, but that's not who it's for necessarily. There's a stereotype that it is for the wealthy, and that is also not true. When it comes down to it, ask yourself, do I have a house? Do I have any money at all? Are the people that are going to be in charge important to me? Is it important to me to be able to decide what's going to happen? We have a set of default rules that are going to happen whether we like it or not. Do we want to overwrite those rules? And if we don't know what those rules are, or if we know what they are and we disagree, we have to do something to replace them. Step number two is what we want to do is we want to take an inventory of our assets, and that's law firm language for saying make a list, right? Yep. So what is it that you have? Do you have a house? Do you have a cabin? If you do, who owns it? Is it owned jointly? Is it owned with a family? But also, what kind of money is out there? And I'm not talking just about how much money, but also what kind. You mentioned 401ks, IRAs, 403bs. There's some tax planning that goes with that. That's very specific. So the type of money counts. Is it brokerage? Is it life insurance, bank accounts? Don't forget the heirlooms. I heard you mention photographs.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to have financial value to be important enough to want to plan for. Do we want specific people to have specific items? And a professional can certainly help make that happen.
What would be the advantage to creating a trust?
That is my step three.
I hear trust and it seems complicated.
That is one of the most common questions we get. What a will is, and this is a big misconception, a will document goes to court. It controls the court process. It's called probate. It can take a long time. It can be expensive. It can be a heartache. But at least we're controlling that court process. That's what we want to do, is we want that peace of mind that we're controlling it. But it does go to court. For those that are trying to avoid this process, they want it to be private. They want it to be faster. They want it to be easier on their family. What we're going to talk about is a living trust or a revocable trust. It's a will replacement. And what we do is we want our assets, house, cabin, but also our money, to pass through our private family entity. Anything that passes through this thing is going to be controlled by our private family agreement. We're going to get it done quickly, much less heartache, generally speaking, much less expensive in the long run. So it's a way of avoiding court.
So Phil, how do you go about finding someone to help you with this? Because this all, as I mentioned, seems really heavy and important.
Finding the right professional, I think, is definitely a step that you want to take. There's a lot of attorneys who do some level of estate planning. There's also attorneys that do only estate planning and probate full-time. That's all I do. Our office does only estate planning and probate. A good estate planning attorney will be able to walk you through this in a way that's accessible. They'll be able to speak in plain language. You will leave that office knowing what you just talked about, and you'll be very comfortable with what's going to happen. You should feel very peaceful when you leave this process. It shouldn't be as stressful as I think people think it has to be.
Okay.
Our website does have some educational information on it. It has some free ebooks, a lot of videos. It's stonearchlaw.com, stonearch like the bridge, LAW.com. It's worth checking out.
Well, Phil, thanks for your time. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but quickly before you go, yes or no, do you get an online thing or not?
The question, and I'll try to make it quick, the question is there peace of mind in knowing that you did something yourself when you have no idea if it's going to work? Who is going to be left holding the bag with that? It's not going to
That's
be.
what I thought you were going to say.
Dang it. And how often
An
do
attorney's
you
not
redo
going to
that?
tell you to
How
take
often
something.
are you reevaluating it?
Because a will document is an actual court document,
Yeah.
we usually say, every 10 years redo it. Trusts tend to last longer because they avoid court. We usually say about every 20.
Okay.
Makes sense. Phil,
We're out of
thanks.
time.
Thank you.
Nice
so
to
much.
meet you. If you need a professional help creating an estate plan, we posted the contact information for you. Stone Arch Law. You can go right to MinnesotaLive.com.
All right.